Hello and a big happy New Year 2025. I hope everyone's New Year's Eve resolutions came true and we all have a wonderful 2025. Welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. Yes, that's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Nosworthy. This is a pre-recorded show broadcasting on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM, New Orleans, USA, and 105.3 FM, Gulf Coast, USA. Listen in to Paranormal NL Podcast on UPRN on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. EST, and follow UPRN at uprntalkradio.com and all their socials. Paranormal NL Podcast believes in promoting paranormal networking and paranormal tourism all over the world. PNL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots on the ground BOG paranormal investigation team in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Contact me, your host, Jen, at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com, and follow PNL Podcast and the BOG team on their socials at the Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the show. Tonight, I have on with me from Ontario, Canada, I have Kat Ward. Kat, welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Because I don't have a noisemaker.
How was your New Year's Eve, girl?
It was great. How was yours?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Yes, I got lots of New Year's resolutions in store for me this year. How about you?
Yeah, I have some. Whether or not I'll follow them is another thing, but
I know, right? Everybody says that. They get their gym membership, and then a week later, it's like, nah, I'm going to cancel that, right?
Yeah. What was I thinking?
What's the weather like over there in Ontario?
Cold.
Cold as heck. I know. It's when somebody asked that in Newfoundland, we just go RDF, rain, drizzle, and fog all day long. Just been like that now for 2 weeks. My cat's been under the sheets and won't come out.
Oh.
So, Kat, tell me about Paranormal NL Heart Podcast, and congratulations, by the way. I'm going to do it again. You got 7 years under your belt. Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah,
Tell me about it. How did Paranormal Heart come about?
Well, first of all, I have to say my husband he wasn't really mad, but he was a little miffed. He goes, "Why didn't you tell me it was your 7-year anniversary?" I'm like, "I did." He goes, "No, you didn't." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you who was going to be on, and he's helping me celebrate my 7th year." So he's like, "Oh, I don't remember." Just like, well, I did.
How is our friend Ron, by the way?
Ron is great. Yep, I love Ron. He's amazing.
Shout out to Ron. And we got a couple other shout outs in order. Kat, we got to give a shout out to Jonathan Mallard, because he was the one who introduced me to you back when I first started out. And we got to give a shout out to
Michelle DeRoche.
Yay! Michelle from UPRN. Thank you, Michelle.
Love you,
Kat,
Michelle.
tell me about Paranormal Heart Podcast.
Trying to merge yours with mine.
Right?
Well, actually, Jonathan Mallard is the one who came up with the name.
Oh, awesome.
Because it was like 8 years ago. Well, first of all, I'll just say I grew up on the east coast of Canada in the province of New Brunswick, was always into the paranormal. Moved to Ontario, husband's military, so we've been here for a bit. And I was a paranormal investigator here with a team in the Ottawa Valley. And then John and I had a mutual friend. And he says, "Well, I have this friend, Kat Ward. She's a paranormal investigator." So John messaged me and said, "I need to have you on my show." And I'd never done anything like that before. And I was like, I don't know. So I talked to the team and they're like, "Yeah, do it." I'm like, "Okay." So he messaged me. It was probably weeks later. And he's like, "Okay, are we doing this or not?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm really scared." And he's like, "Well, it's just recorded, just 2 friends chatting." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And apparently I didn't sound nervous, but inside I'm screaming, going, "What am I doing?" So then I was guest on a couple of other podcasts, and I had family and friends reach out to say, "Hey, you're doing a good job. You should start your own show." And my response is always, "Hell no." So when I mentioned that to my husband, he goes, "Well, why wouldn't you do it?" I'm like, "I don't know, other people do it." And he's like, and it's like, yeah,
You didn't want to get involved with all the tech stuff.
yeah,
Hey, now the team you're talking about that you're referring to, that's the CSRS, right? The Canadian Supernatural Research Society?
it is, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that team.
Oh yeah. Actually, I haven't had the chance to investigate with them in the past couple of years. It's just my schedule doesn't seem to coincide with theirs because I work evening shift, and it's just we just can't get together. So we even have a new team member that I've never met.
But you know what? I bet your night shifts gives you the great opportunity to do investigations while you're working.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Come on, admit it, you've done it, right?
I've wanted to. I've taken pictures and I've tried to get the audio recorder going, but but yeah, I joined the team. Oh, jeepers, 10 years ago. So we were posted here in Ontario. Then we went to Alberta, and then we're back to Ontario. So I joined them obviously when we were in Ontario. And when I came back, Katie's like, "Are you coming back?" I'm like, "Will you have me back?" She goes, "Absolutely." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." So we did a few investigations, but nothing too, not as busy as when I first joined because the dreaded C happened. And I know some people get triggered when you say the word, but that bad flu.
Germs.
Germs,
It's
yeah.
so scary, C, germ word. Yeah.
I know. That happened. So of course I put a kibosh on investigating, and then I got the job here, and it's just like I
I
said,
still have a sticker on my fridge that says FC.
that's awesome.
I won't say the words right, but yeah, we got a lot of the same people in our circle and stuff like that. You're from Atlantic Canada too.
Yep.
You're got military stuff going on. I know when I before I moved here, I was with Veterans Affairs, USA. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff in common.
We do.
But and we're right next to each other on UPRN. So you got double Canada episode. Yeah.
When I found out that we were side by side, I was like, "Yes, this is perfect."
How cool is that, right?
Oh, I know, it just worked out.
So tell me a little bit more. I know you're narrating a book. Is it a Obsidian Guardian series?
Yep. So the author is JB Coates, and she has 4, I think, released. She has 6 planned. I did the first book. I'm still working on the second book. I haven't been able to touch it for a couple of months because my neighborhood suddenly got very, very noisy. They were doing major road construction up the street. Where they dug down. It wasn't just we're filling holes, we're just redoing the road. And it was closed for 2-3 months. So that all the traffic got bypassed in front of my place.
I bet your cat didn't like that.
It didn't bother them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, mine don't like it when there's hammering. We're adding on to my husband's canine business, and they don't like the hammering.
Yeah. Wow.
Or fireworks.
Yeah. I used to have a dog like that, but
yeah,
I'd sit down and have everything set up, ready to go, and then the traffic and the trucks, and it was like, really, this is and you have to have perfect quietness because I don't have a proper studio yet. The new year, I'm going to be moving it to the basement. I have a nice little cubby area that hubby and I were talking about, and we're going to put up those soundproof panels. And
ooh, nice.
I have some.
Have you ever, Kat, investigated your house?
No, I don't like investigating my own house.
Why?
Well, I'm afraid that I'm going to ramp up activity.
Stir up something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out the sage, girl. Put the sage.
Oh yeah. Actually, I haven't saged in a while. Yeah.
Girl, I do sage quite often. Yeah.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that Palo Alto wood. Oh my gosh, that stuff smells so good. Right?
No, I like it as just the wood, but burnt, it repels me. It's disgusting. And my daughter feels the same way. My husband loves it. He's always
my cat loves it. He comes up to it and starts smelling it. And he doesn't like me to light it though, now, mind you, but he loves the smell of it.
Yeah, the unburnt wood smells amazing, but once it's burning, it's just like, oh, And
You use other cleansing techniques. What do you use for when you
I
were
just
working
use
with the CSRS? What did you
sage
guys
and
do?
salt.
Salt and sage, yeah?
Yeah, mainly sage.
Yep.
We have salted some places. I've salted entranceways to my place as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, that makes me realize that I haven't saged my house in a while.
Now it gets y'all freaked out, right? I
Oh,
thought I saw a book or something move behind you there, Kat.
ooh, maybe.
That's fake, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
That's why you didn't turn around because you knew I was talking baloney, hey?
It's a
Talking
backdrop.
about those wild balonies again in Newfoundland. Hey, listen, tell me about some weird cryptid creatures or maybe some culture. Like, you're from New Brunswick, so
Mhm,
what, or, you've been living in Ontario for a while too.
mhm.
So are there some, like, things that, are specific to Ontario or New Brunswick in particular?
Well, New Brunswick does have a few Bigfoot encounters and supposedly dogman, but mainly Bigfoot. But in the
Okay.
area that I'm from, there is a local legend. So I'm from the Moncton area in New Brunswick,
Okay.
um, and there's a place called Rebecca's Grave. And I can never remember if she lived in the 16 or 1800s, but the legend goes that she was a witch, her and her mother, and then she died. They say she got hit by a car, but I remember as a teenager going to the library with a microfiche, at the
Oh,
library.
yeah, yeah,
I'm really aging myself,
yeah.
doing research on her.
Right.
And when she lived, we didn't have cars in the Moncton area yet. So you know how stories will just change over time depending who's telling it. But apparently she passed away, and next to the road, there's supposedly her and her mother are buried face down, and there's concrete poured on top of the two graves. Now there used to be two tombstones there, and
Right.
it's one of those locations that everybody goes as a teenager. Some teens are drinking, because they want to go see the spooky ghost. Of course, I did that with my friends too, but I wasn't drinking. So we had a couple of carloads. We'd go and see if we could find Rebecca, and somebody had smashed the tombstone. So I took a piece of the tombstone with me and went home. So we're driving, and I'm looking at my friends and said, "Look what I got," and they all started freaking out. And then I'm thinking to myself, "What have I done?" So
Oh, no.
a couple of days, like I was born French Roman Catholic. My mother had the prayer beach. She was very, very religious.
Okay.
So but she also believed in the paranormal. So I told her, I said, "Mom, I took a piece of Rebecca's grave and I'm freaking out." So my friends and I went back and I put it back and I apologized. Nothing happened. But I was terrified. "Oh no, don't come
But
after
why
me."
did y'all do that, though?
I have no idea why I did that, but that was just one of those local spots that everybody talks about. There's even a band named Rebecca's Grave out of Moncton. A gentleman did a
No way.
documentary on it as well, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. But apparently, it's more based on the legend and not the actual person. And I guess it was horrible. I had the great fortune of having a direct descendant of Rebecca's Grave on my show a few years ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
met
You
her.
didn't tell her what you did you?
I think I did. I
Oh
can't
my
remember.
gosh.
But
What
she
did
was just
she
like,
say, Kat?
"Not much." She just kinda, like, laughed, and I said, "But I brought it back and apologized." So but I had reached she had reached out to me and said, 'cause we were both in the same, paranormal group from New Brunswick, and,
Okay.
somebody I was trying to figure out the name of another location that was haunted in the
Yeah.
Moncton area, and I couldn't remember what it was called, and somebody said, "Oh, Rebecca's Grave," and I said, "No, not that one. I'm very familiar with that one." So then she messaged me and said, "Yeah, I'm a descendant." So we chit-chatted for a bit, had her on the show, and I said, "I would like to have you on the show because I wanna talk about the actual Rebecca." Um, and I think I named it, Rebecca's Grave. Her name was Rebecca Lutz. So
Okay.
I think I called it Rebecca's Grave, Truth versus Fiction or something like that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to know the real Rebecca as much as she knew, from a
Okay.
family point of view. And
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy to have her on the show. It's just, and we still keep in touch. And this is a few years ago.
I bet that was
So
amazing. So,
it was.
we were talking the other night, I had somebody on, and, we were talking about, for some reason, some places, the people go to, in the US or wherever, they take like souvenirs and stuff home, right? And I was like, and he was telling me about it, and people took some stuff home, but there was attachments. So they literally took it back and either like called him and said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and like gave it back, or threw it on the lawn and drove away because there was something attached to it.
I've heard of that from the Mayan ruins. People will go check out the ruins, bring a piece of stone back, and then apparently they have a lot of people sending packages back to that local government or whatever and saying, "We're sorry, we took this. We've had bad luck. Please take it back."
Oh
So
gosh.
that's kind of neat.
Yeah. That
Spooky, but
I don't think I would like that to have that happen.
no.
Nobody likes an attachment. I
No.
just threw up your logo here, Paranormal Heart with Cat Ward, and I'm looking at your little friend on here. I'll see if I can find a bigger one here.
Yeah.
It's you and the kitty cat wrapped around in the heart, and we talked a little bit. There's you in
Yep.
action. A little bit about the logo. I think off here you were telling me about how you got the name and a little bit about the logo.
Yeah, so I went on Fiverr, Fiverr, and you can hire graphic artists, things like that for like $5, $5 and up. So I hired a graphic artist. I said, "Look, I want a black cat with blue eyes, and I want the heart shaped like a tail, like a heart." Did I say the heart shaped like a heart? I wanted the tail shaped like a heart. So I think it was under $20 for graphic art of this cat. And then a few years later, I met another graphic artist in person when I went back to school at Algonquin College here in the area, and asked him just to tweak it, just to make it make it a little bit more modern. So this is what I have. And when we were in Alberta, everybody kept telling me the cat needs a name. So I had a contest. I said, "Give me some names," and then I had it narrowed down. I said the winner gets a Paranormal Heart mug. And yeah, the cat's name is Boo, all capital letters, BOO. Yeah.
Aw, isn't Boo a little cutie?
Yeah.
And I have to ask, of course, cats are like potato chips. How many cats do you have?
I currently have 2. I did have 3.
Aw. And does your cat, not Boo, but your cat ever tell you about any paranormal stuff going on? Or have you had any friends or people you talk to, tell them about things with their pets where they've kind of told them or indicated that there's something going on around them?
Oh, yeah. So we used to have this black lab husky mix named Molly. Sadly, she passed away. We think
Uh-huh.
she had, I can't remember what it was. Anyways, she passed suddenly. She wasn't moving. Her eyes were the only thing that could move. Her bodily functions just went, and we brought her to the vet, and her blood pressure was so low that she couldn't even administer her, like to put her to sleep. Excuse
Oh,
me.
poor Molly.
She passed away in my arms after I told her it was okay.
Oh,
You don't have to watch over us. We're going to miss you, but it's your time to go. And then she just kind of went,
oh.
and then that was it. So yes, that is a sad part, but she used to like to curl up underneath, like in the living room. We had an area rug underneath and a coffee table, and she used to like to curl up under the coffee table on the area rug. And so Sam, my old orange tabby, who turned 17 in December,
Oh, wow.
that old cat, yeah, he's my little buddy. He was curled up at the spot that Molly used to curl up. And all of a sudden, he gets up, he's hissing, he's spitting, he's all fluffed up. I've never seen him like that. He runs down the hall, and he comes back, and he peers around the corner at the spot that he was at. And he's growling, and I'm like, "What are you?" Oh, that's where Molly used to sit. And it was shortly after Molly had passed, so I think Molly was still in the house. We actually have her ashes in our living room in a nice box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does Sam know? Like, does he ever go and hang out there?
Yeah, sometimes, but I don't think Molly's with us anymore because I'll get to that in a second. So we have in the kitchen, we have one of those under the counter lights that's motion activated.
Okay.
The cats don't activate it, but Molly did, and of course we do. And after Molly passed, the light would activate and the cats would be with us, in the living room. And we're just like, okay. So it was Molly. So I reached out to, I think you had Rob Guttra on your show.
Yes, Rob. Shout out to Rob. He's awesome. You got to check him out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I just reached out to him and said, hey, this is what's going on. And he says, yeah, that's Molly. Molly's still with you. She still worries about you guys and wants to take care of you. So I just one day said out loud, I said, Molly, we love having you here. You're freaking out Sam, but we miss you dearly, but it's your time to cross if you so wish to.
Okay.
It's okay for you to pass. We love you, miss you, but we're going to be fine. And then we haven't had any activity like that since.
So she knew you were okay, and she went back to the Rainbow Bridge.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Aw.
So poor little Sam hasn't had any other freakouts. So.
So what about some of your experiences besides around your home, like the places that you've been, or anything that sticks out in your mind paranormally that kind of sparked you to get into it?
Oh, yeah. Well, the first paranormal encounter I had was when I was living in New Brunswick. I was, I think, 7, just very young. In the apartment building we lived in, I saw the Hat Man. That was my first paranormal experience, but he was 4 foot tall. He wasn't the tall one that everybody talks about.
I've never heard of a short Hat Man.
I know. I hadn't even, at the time, I hadn't heard of any Hat Man.
Okay.
And it was, I didn't see him every night, but I would freak out every night. My dad still says about the night terrors that I used to have at that apartment. And I know he was 4 feet tall because I had someone ask me one time, well, how do you know he's 4 feet tall? I said, because the dresser I had, I compared the height later on.
Right.
So I knew how tall he was. But he never used to pay attention to me. He would just come in like almost like he's working, he's doing something. I don't know what he was doing. Later on, I had someone tell me that like a couple of psychics who are very, very gifted tell me that he was actually a guardian there to protect me from what was in the apartment building. Which makes sense because so years go by, and I'm listening to a podcast as an adult. I had never spoken to anybody else other than my parents about the Hat Man that I used to see. And listening to actually Erick and Justin from Paratruth Reborn. They're also on the network. So, hey, Erick and Justin. I started off
UPRN.
I started off as a fan of the show, just became like family, like they're great guys. But I was listening to an episode and the guy was talking about a Hat Man. And I'm like, Hat Man? So he's describing it. And I'm like, he's describing the same thing I used to see, but mine was short. This guy's talking about a tall one. Yep.
Okay, there's Hat Man.
Yep.
So for all you folks wondering what's Hat Man, it's kind of like a shadow wearing a hat, right?
Yep.
So that's basically what you saw?
Yep. So I sent them an email to say, great episode. I saw it too. I didn't know other people saw it too. And then Justin replied back saying, you have to watch this YouTube video, and I can't find it now. But it's this guy who reenacted the short Hat Man that he used to see as a young boy. And so he did kind of like a mannequin thing, and then he dimmed the lights. And for a second, I was terrified. All those childhood feelings came back, and I'm like, that's exactly what I experienced.
That's so what you saw.
Yeah, like how is it that he saw it? So I did a little bit more research and found out that no, there's a lot of people that actually see it, mainly the tall one. There are a few that have the short ones too, but I could not imagine that anybody else had seen this entity. So that was, I still have dreams about that apartment building. I still have dreams of either driving by, wondering what the evil was there, because obviously it wasn't the Hat Man. He was just there.
Why there's so many people who see him,
I know.
And these people don't know each other, but they all have kind of the same Hat Man experience.
Yep. And is there a correlation with the tall one and the short one? I don't know. Some people speculate that maybe they're different ranks, for lack of a better term. Maybe the short one is just kind of like a scout and the tall one is like a higher ranking type thing, but we really don't know.
Now, did you ask this person about Hat Man? JJRose777, big
She was
shout out.
she was my paranormal sister. Yes, I asked her too what the Hat Man was, and she was one of the 2 psychics that I absolutely adore and trust and know that they're legit, and she said, "Yeah, he's there to protect you." And I never told her what the other psychic said. I just said, you know, "This is what's going on or what did happen. What are your feelings on it?" And then she's like, "Yeah, he was there to protect you." I'm like, "That's what the other one said too."
Yeah, it's an interesting concept how, so many people have, and they don't know each other, and
Yeah,
here's Hat Man on their doorstep or in their bedroom or something, it's very weird. Now, I know you said when you were, I guess, growing up and stuff around, New Brunswick, you had mentioned Dogman. Is there any kind of stories that you wanna share about Dogman? We gotta give a shout out to Al too, our
uh,
Squatch father.
Watch
We
Father,
recently had
yes.
Al on too.
Love that guy too. He's amazing and such a great friend. Um, I've only heard about dogman sightings in New Brunswick the past few years. I never heard. Growing up, we didn't know about dogman, werewolves, and loup-garou because Scooby Doo. When I was a kid, loup-garou.
Scooby-Doo, now Loup-Garou, tell me more about Loup-Garou again.
Well, loup-garou, so they're all likened. So you have the dogman, you have the werewolf who will be bipedal, and he can only transform or she during the full moon. Now, loup-garou or rougarou is also the same thing from our Cajun family and friends call them, is a wolf shape, and he or she can transform at any time they want. But the longer they stay in wolf form, the more they're going to be like a wild animal. So they start losing their humanity. So that's the difference between the dogman, werewolf, and loup-garou.
Wow. Yeah, there's so many different things with cryptid creatures and things like that. Do you have a favorite cryptid that you like to talk about?
Oh, it's loup-garou. Yeah, I love that one. I've been fascinated by it ever since, well, like I said, Scooby-Doo. There was an episode they were in Quebec, and it was lumberjacks, and they had this dog creature um, that was attacking them, and I thought, oh wow, this is kind of cool. So yeah, that's my favorite cryptid. I kind of would like to see one in a way, but from a safe distance, because when you hear about Dogman, you never hear of good encounters like you do with Bigfoot. Some of them can be traumatic and very violent, and other times with Bigfoot, he or she is there to help the people. So, but with Dogman, you never hear of good encounters with them.
No, I don't think I'd wanna meet a dog man. I hear a lot of scary things about them. I guess probably Ron that you had on recently on your 7th-year anniversary show probably mentioned them too, did he? Or
Yeah, not on that particular show, or did we? It's been so long now, I don't remember, but I know he has been on the show a few times, and one of them we did talk about werewolves.
yeah, they can be pretty scary things for sure. So, talk to me about the Fab Five too. We gotta give a shout out to
Oh,
everybody.
yes. So it started out with Tommy Cullum. He reached out to me
I
and wanted
love
me to be on
Tommy.
his show.
Big shout out to you,
No,
Tommy.
Tommy, oh, he's a gem. He reached out to me and wanted me to be on his show. So after we were done the interview,
Let's Get Freaky show in the
get freaky.
UK.
Yep. He when we were done recording, he said he had only been doing podcasting for a few months, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" I said, "You are so good at it." So I invited him to be on my show, and then he introduced me to, I think it was JJ first, and then JJ knows Tim Sudano. So
Yeah,
JJ777, sorry, JJRose777. We just call her JJ.
love
Then
JJRose too,
yep,
777. I've
yep.
had her on the show and Tommy, and I've got Tim coming on soon now
Oh,
too.
good, yeah, and Tim is also part of UPRN now.
Yes, welcome
Tim
aboard,
Sudano,
Tim.
yes,
Woohoo!
UPRN family.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then through them, I met Erick Szilagyi. Oh, I'm gonna butcher his name. Szilagyi? I'm sorry, Eric. Eric.
We
Uh,
love you, Eric.
yeah, and just so I think I can't remember who coined the phrase, if it was JJ or who it was, but they just called us a Fantastic Five. And
It stuck.
Tim did a little logo for us, and yeah,
And it's still, and the ball is still rolling.
still rolling. Yeah.
Tell me some more about your audio stuff. How did you get involved with that?
Oh, wow. So when I first started
I
my
see your
podcast,
mic. I gotta ask you about your mic too. It's a
oh,
different kind of mic, a big, long, skinny one.
yeah.
That's a new one, right?
Oh, I've had this for a few years now.
Oh, okay. Because I
Yeah.
guess I see you on the other pictures with the different one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have a different mic then. So this is new compared to the other photos. But yeah. So when I first started my show, I had because I'm not very tech savvy. It took me a year until I decided, yes, I'm going to do a podcast, until I actually released it, because I was so worried about having good audio. I wanted to have good audio for the audience, because it really irritates me whenever I listen to a podcast and it sounds horrible. It just takes away from the show. At least
Agreed. Yeah.
for me, yeah. So I thought, okay, I want to get this as right as possible. So it was a mutual friend of ours. So there's Jim Mallard. He used to be host of the Mallard Report, and then, oh my God, I think I'm having a brain fart. Oh my God, I talk to him
Jim
all the
Mallard.
time too. No, Brian Anderson is his name. Oh God, I'm sorry, Brian. He's pretty much the tech guy. He was helping Jim out, so I just reached out to Brian one day. I'm like, can you help me with the show? And he goes, absolutely. And he's been narrating audiobooks, and he does commercials and voiceovers for quite a few years. And just one day I just had an idea. How do I go about doing audiobooks? So he told me to go to, what was the website? I can't remember what it's called anyways. So he says, go there, start a profile. And that way, people who are looking for narrators or singers or whatever for commercials, TV shows, books, like the whole 9 yards. If they need voiceover work, they go to this site, and then they'll post what part they're looking for, and then you send in your audition, and they'll have a specific amount of time that it's going to be up, and then they just pick to see who's going to be the better one. So then I posted on Facebook one day, and I say, hey, look, I did a thing today, and showed the link for my profile on that website. So a friend of mine, JB Coach, she's a paranormal investigator as well in the States, private messaged me and says, I'm an author, and you're the voice I've been looking for. And I'm like, I didn't even know you were an author. I've known her for a few years and did not know that.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so she sent me the book. I read it. Then she messages me. She goes, do you like it? I'm like, no, I don't like it. She goes, oh, I love it. So she goes, oh, you. So she says, yeah, I want you to be the narrator. So I said, okay, how about I do the first chapter? I'll send it to you, and you can tell me if I am what you want. And if so, we'll just go on from there. I didn't know how to do any of this. Brian,
It's real tedious though, right, Kat?
Oh, yeah, there is a lot of work. I used to think it was just record and go. Oh, no. Brian Anderson mentored me, took me under his wing, and he told me what programs to get, what decibels you have to have, because there's a lot of levels that your book is supposed to be at. So once you submit it, they're going to check to see that they're at those levels. And if they're not, then they're going to message the author saying, no, it doesn't qualify. It has to be cleaned up, whatever. So yeah, I learned how to do everything myself. I recorded and then edited and then do the mix down to process everything to try and get the levels
Right.
where they needed to be. And you don't realize breath control is a thing. Oh my God. I struggled in the beginning. I still kind of do, but I'll be reading a sentence and all of a sudden it's like I have to take a breath. So
you should do some of that yoga breathing stuff that they got,
right? Yeah. But Brian, like I said, he's a genius, and he's been doing this for quite a few years. So I could just imagine, and I used to tell him, I could just picture you hitting your head on your desk going, why isn't she getting this? You would send me video tutorials to help me out, and I just wasn't getting it. But I think I tend to overcomplicate things.
Nah, but you hit the nail on the or hit the donkey on his tail or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call
Oh, yeah.
it.
What was that? You hit the tail. No, you hit the tail on. How did you say?
No,
So
I got you all mixed up.
I heard you say it on. I think it was your latest episode, and
Oh
it was
no,
so
we said
hilarious.
something and they were laughing or something about it, right?
And then
So
they're like, "Is that Canadian?"
let's switch gears. Let's
Yep.
talk about weird theories. How about dimensional war and like in regards to portals and protection and stuff like that? What's your theory on that?
I think you and I were having that chat on
Yeah,
Messenger
I
the other
said
day.
this would be a great thing to talk about.
Yep. And I actually talked about it with Ed Odell recently as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it's I always tell my friends, well, this might be a crazy thought, but we're in the paranormal, so everything's crazy. So I said,
That's
I
why we're your para family. You can talk to us
know.
about anything.
Yeah. So I said, I have heard some people say that Earth was a penal colony for humans, that they put us here. And I thought, okay, how about maybe there was a dimensional war like millennia ago, and either we were so humans, when we see something that we don't understand, we kill it. It just seems to be human nature. So a
Sad
lot
but
of people,
true, right?
not everyone. Yeah. So what if humans were really, really the terror of the dimensions, and they brought us to Earth and put the veil to keep us here? Or again, there was a dimensional war, and we were brought here to protect us, and they put the veil. So that's why a lot of religions tell us don't do witchcraft, don't do the Ouija board, don't have psychic abilities, just stay away from that, is because they're afraid that we would trigger another war. And we all know that the veil is thinning and some people say the veil is completely gone, but I'm just going to say it's thinning. And there seems to be a lot more people having more paranormal encounters, seeing more UFOs. Is it because the veil is thinning and we're starting to be able to see the other dimensions? You can't prove or disprove it right now, but it's an interesting idea.
But it's a good theory. I mean, why are there so many people having all these awakenings and so much interest in the paranormal lately? Is it because of pop culture and having so much of it on TV? Or is it the opposite? Is it on the culture and on the, in the front lines because there's so much of it happening?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I wonder which theory holds true, but there's so many other theories, but I really like the dimensional one because it kind of makes sense. And I like to think of also vision dimensional theories, like we can only see a certain dimension with our eyes, but when you go, for example, ghost hunting, what are you going to bring? Night vision. Why? Because we can't see, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we're just banging around and they're already been here and they've been here and they're here right next to us right now watching and probably eating popcorn and listening in, sitting right next to us, but we can't see them, right?
Yep.
And we can't hear them. That's why we got to do the recordings for the EVPs and use, these things so we can see them. So maybe they are and have been here all along, but it's so, it's cool to think about the dimensional stuff and the time and space and all that, right?
Yep. I had this discussion a little while back with a guest on the show. There was Ron, Cherie, and Tony. They have this project called the Staticom project, and I wanted to find out more about it. But I mentioned how, cats, for example, we always claim that cats can see other dimensions and they can actually see the ghosts. I would absolutely, because I'm not very scientific. I love science, but I can't wrap my head around a lot of it. But what I would like for someone to develop a pair of glasses that let us see in the same spectrum as cats.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Not
Maybe
only cats, but just think of all the other animals, like
yeah, yeah,
insects and,
yep,
all kind bioluminescence, right? Like,
yes,
we gotta
yes.
spread lumina all over everything to see that kind of weird stuff, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, and they're like, "Oh, that's yeah, that would be a great idea." Because I said, "Everybody uses the pretty much the same pieces of equipment in investigating, and I just want someone to create something that's a little bit different." Like, we've all used the same pieces of equipment, let's move on and see if we can come up with something else, and I
Yeah, like,
found
what about one
glasses.
where we can see each other's aura and stuff like that? Because you
Yeah,
know how so many psychic mediums say that everybody has their own aura, their own
mhm,
energy, they're vibrating at their own level, and, when I think about dimensions and vibrations and stuff, that definitely all has something to do with it when you talk about vibrations because when you listen to music there's so many different patterns that come up and sacred cultures have used it for like the ancients have used all these patterns and stuff and it is just amazing. It's mind-boggling, right? But
yeah,
I think there's so many things that we forgot about as a race, right?
definitely, yep.
Yeah,
Just because
yeah.
we're told you're not supposed to think that, you're not supposed to have these gifts, but we have them.
And you like Egyptian stuff. What kind of Egyptian stuff do you wanna or that you wanna talk about that's kind of
Oh,
paranormally?
gee, um ever since I was a little girl, so I went to all just French schools when I was little in, New Brunswick, and we were always, every time I went to the library, they told us pretty much what we had to grab books on, and finally, one day, they're like, "Okay, you can grab whatever book you want," and I found this one on ancient civilizations. I was blown away. I was just like, "What?" And the Egyptians in particular, I just felt a connection. I love it. Um, a lot of people say you were probably an Egyptian in a past life, and I was showing
Mhm.
you some of the tattoos that I have. I have, Bastet on one side, Anubis on the other, and then I have, one of my cats that passed away, I have the 3, pyramids with the pattern on top of her head underneath it, and then when my other 2 pass, I'm gonna have their patterns, and then I'm gonna fill that in like it looks like a tablet.
Have
Uh,
you ever done any, like, soul genesis or anything with anybody or, like, Reiki
no,
type stuff? I think
no.
you would love that because I think you might be onto something. It'd be interesting to have you do some soul genesis and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe it is Egyptian. Who knows?
I'm sure, yeah, because I've always had a fascination with them ever since I found that book.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was other ancient civilizations, but that's the one that really sang to me the most, and I've never been to Egypt. I would love to go someday, but the way the world is right now, I'm gonna stay here in Canada. But, someday, let's hope it'll calm down and I'll be able to visit there, but, I had the pleasure of meeting they call him the rock star of Egyptology. His name's Doctor Zahi Hawass. I'm sorry if I
Oh,
mispronounced his
I
name.
love him.
Yep.
Where did you bump into him?
Well, quite a few years ago, my husband was actually, overseas on tour, and, the King Tut exhibit was gonna be in Toronto. So, my husband called one day and I said, "I think the kids and I are gonna go to Toronto to see this exhibit," and Dr. Hawass was actually giving a lecture. So we had friends that lived just outside of Toronto, so the kids and I went up for the weekend, and I don't like driving in big cities. I just it's I can't do it. There's too many things going on,
Too many
so
cars.
well, yeah, and too many people and just like, no, I don't like it. So, some friends of ours that live just outside of Toronto that were staying for the weekend, I said, "Look, if I pay for your ticket, will you come with us? But you have to drive in Toronto." And he goes, "Yeah, absolutely." So I paid for his ticket. He watched the kids because my youngest was always very, he could be destructive, but he was distracted, so he didn't destroy any relics, thankfully, but, he was able to, um distract, especially my youngest, and so I could just look at all the mummies and just all the artifacts that they had there, and then
Nice.
afterwards, we went out for dinner, and then we went to see Dr. Hawass, and then afterwards, he was, doing signing, so I stood behind him with my daughter because my son was out, he was, like, 3 at the time. So, was it 3? No. He's still single digit, but he was still pretty young. So, my friend took care of him while my daughter and I went to talk to him, so we stood behind him, and, he was like a signing machine. You'd put things in front of it, he'd sign, and he wasn't taking time to talk to anybody. So the guy that
Oh,
was standing behind me, I said, "Do you mind taking a photo of us?" He goes, "Yeah, sure, not a problem." So when I went behind him, I said, "It's such a great honor to meet you, Dr. Hawass. Thank you for signing." I got a hat, one of the hats that he wears, and I got a book. And he actually looked up for a split second and said, "Thank you very much for being here." And then back to the signing. And just like, oh my God, he spoke. Like it was such it was a dream of a lifetime for me to go.
Yeah, just think of the things that he's seen that the general public are not allowed to see. Because there's
Yep.
a lot of stuff that they got under wraps that you're not allowed in there, right?
Yep.
And there's so many things that have not been uncovered and unearthed that are there that you're not allowed to dig there, you know?
He's very passionate about his field.
Mm-hmm.
He just loves it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do too. Everybody, I think, loves all kinds of Egyptian stuff, and like as you were talking about when you were a kid, all these wonders of the world and things like that. That's part of the stuff that got me interested into, not just the paranormal, but I also like the supernatural and the sci-fi. The all aspects of it, not just the woo, shall we say, right? Because paranormal is not just ghosts; it's cryptid creatures, it's everything. It's metaphysical.
Yep.
So, yeah, you gotta take all that into account for sure.
When I first started the show, I used to think paranormal was just ghosts, but then I was sorely wrong. Then I realized, no, there's so many offshoots, like so many topics.
Mhm. A lot of different things.
Yep.
So I'm gonna open up, let's see, probably your link tree, and while I'm looking for that, let's see, I can pull up something else. Do. 1 second.
And I love your hat.
Oh, thank you. I should have told you to come for the party, girl.
I know. Well, I should have known. We're both from down east, so I should have known. Kitchen party.
Everybody loves a good kitchen party. Actually, right now, I know we're pre-recording, but everybody loves mummers. Do you all do very many like mummering things there?
No, I've heard of mummeries, but I can't remember what it is.
Oh, mummering is where, you gotta wear all kinds of weird, silly stuff. Usually it's like your grandma's doily, and you gotta wear like all kinds of weird, that would be over your head, over your head. You gotta hide your head and try to hide your body parts. So if you're a man, you dress up like a woman and vice versa, so they can't guess who you are. And then you go house to house and hopefully, if you're lucky, you get some hot toddies, which is, some hot liquor.
Adult
Because it's so cold here in Canada. So here's Kat's link tree. So let me go back to, I'm kind of toggling back and forth here. So yeah, tell us where to find you and where your fans can go and look on your link tree and stuff. Why don't you point out some exciting things that you want to show people?
Sure. Well, the newest thing is the ACX. So if anybody's looking for a narrator or to do a little bit of voiceover work, I did a little voiceover work in a movie a couple of years ago. I was at the end of the movie and I was played Lorraine. It was called oh jeepers, I can't remember the movie now. The Smoky. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. Vinny, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I can't remember the name of the show. He was the one that created it. But anyways, so yeah, if you're looking for any voiceover work, click on ACX and it should bring you to my profile. I hope I did it correctly. But yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram and Facebook. I am on X and TikTok, but I'm mainly on Facebook and Instagram. So you have those there. And yeah, Amazon.ca. That's another link. So you can find the show is primarily on UPRN and YouTube and Podbean. Those are the main platforms. I used to have shows twice a month. Now it's every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm also on Amazon. I'm on Spotify, pretty much wherever you find any of the podcasts. Just look for Paranormal Heart Podcast and I'll be there. Look for the little cat with the heart and the tail. And yeah.
Everybody follow Kat Ward. You're going to love her and her new UPRN show every week. And like she said, the time, you're at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays on UPRN. And I was just going to look for the name of that other, the movie that you were talking about. I was going to scroll down and try to find it because I know you had mentioned it or sent it to me. I think it might be in your bio. I do believe.
Yes, it is.
I'm scrolling down. Your book. Small. Yes, there we go. Voice rollover Lorraine in the horror comedy movie Camp Smokey, written and directed by Vinny Vineyard and Luke Walker. And did we mention your Gmail?
Yeah. So if you want to be on the show, or if you just want to say hello, or if you have any questions, please drop me a line. My email is paranormalheart13@gmail.com.
Yes, you got to do that. And for your station ID, I'm going to give a shout out again to UPRN. Contact me, your host, Jan, at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com, or follow PNL Podcast, sponsored by the BOG Team, Boots on the Ground, Paranormal Investigation Team at Linktree, Paranormal NL Podcast, UPRN United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 Gulf Coast, is a 30-year-old award-nominated FM station with a large podcast division. UPRN are pioneers in our evolving world of podcast and bring the absolute best productions in various genres, which include, but are not limited to, metaphysical, current events, lifestyle, sports, holistic, politics, and news. The UPRN network also has a wide range of shows that collectively delve into topics which would be deemed high strangeness, including the paranormal, ufology, cryptozoology, ancient technology, civilizations, esoteric, occult, conspiracy theories, and anything else that would be considered unexplained, supernatural, and out of this world. So everybody follow UPRN, follow Kat Ward. Kat, do you want to give a few more shout outs to your fans or give any other strange stories?
Oh, no, I just want to say hello. Shout out to anybody who's ever messaged me, who's listened to the show. I mean, I appreciate all of you, because if I didn't have an audience, I wouldn't still be doing this 7 years later. I mean, I absolutely enjoyed it. If I only had like 1 or 2 people listening, that's fine with me. But the show has been growing, especially since I've been with UPRN. So thank you so very much. You're all so amazing.
Yes, definitely a huge shout out to UPRN. They're doing a great job with the network. And you still got some more minutes if you want to give a shout out, or for me to pull up something here. I can go schmoozing around somewhere else on your link tree if you want.
I just want to mention quickly another little paranormal encounter I had when I was a kid, if that's okay.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So my parents and I, we used to go for a lot of drives around the Maritimes. You know, the Maritimes really isn't that big compared to some of the other provinces in Canada, you know. So we would just up and go. And we went to Fort Louisbourg in Nova Scotia.
Fort Louisbourg. Okay. I think I might have been there. Do they speak French there?
Yes.
Yes. I remember going there as a kid. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, jeepers. Is it New Brunswick or Nova Scotia now? Oh, my. I can't remember. It's in the Maritimes. So one of the buildings, they were doing renovations. So it was the end of the day. My parents and I had a tour guide with us and brought us to that one building. And they had caution tape everywhere because they were doing renovations. And I could hear something down the hall. So I'm looking and I start walking, and the tour guide says, "Excuse me, where are you going?" I said, I hear footsteps down the hall. I'm just curious. She says, "Oh, well, there's nobody in the building. It's just the 4 of us." "Oh, that must be the ghost that you're hearing trying to deter me," right? And I'm thinking, you know, single-digit-year-old me, I don't remember how old I was. I'm like, "Ghost?" I start walking down the hall, and my parents and the tour guide are like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't go down there. It's too dangerous.
Don't do it."
Yeah, so I guess I've been a paranormal investigator since I can remember. But, yeah, I definitely heard those boot steps. There were boot steps too.
Interesting. And you had said like around the age of 7 is when you started getting kind of like different things and getting different. Is there anybody else in your family like that, or have different?
Like that. My mom, she used to be able to talk to her grandfather without him even being in the same building.
Oh,
And
wow.
she thought everybody was like that. So she'd mention that to family and friends, and they're looking at her going, "What are you talking about?" Then she realized, "Oh, I'm the only one. This is weird." So when her grandfather passed, she went to wake up her parents and said, I can't remember what she called her grandfather. I called my grandfather on my mom's side Pipea. So she says, "Yeah, Pipea passed away." Because he was sick, he was in the hospital, and he went to say goodbye to her. And my parents are like, "Go back to bed. He's at the hospital. Everything's fine." Then the phone rings
Oh,
to give them
wow.
the bad news.
Okay.
Yeah. So even though my mother was very, very French Roman Catholic, she had the prayer beads, she had her Bible all the time. We'd go to church every weekend, but she still believed in the paranormal. And she didn't think that a lot of it was evil either. She just knew that some things, just weird things that happen.
Yeah, it's not all like that. I mean, there's a lot of benevolent stuff for sure, and I love the benevolent stuff about it, especially, when it's family and things like that, and they're just kinda looking over you and
Yep,
hanging out with you and stuff that's really not scary.
yep,
I think a lot of people have that and probably have experienced it, but just don't, like you said, pay attention to it or,
yep.
you know?
But my
Or
family, when way back before social media, when you had Messenger, it was just called Messenger. One of my cousins, when I was living in New Brunswick, and he was living in Nova Scotia, and we would chat a lot because he was into music, like rock music and all that, and we would just chat. And he told me one time about, he says, "You're gonna think this is crazy, but think weird things have been going on in my house." And I'm
Okay.
like, "Oh, what's been going on?" So it goes, "Yeah, all my life, there's these weird things. I'm crazy." I'm like, "Actually, no, you're not the only one in the family to have these gifts." He goes, "I'm not?" He thought he was the only one, poor guy.
Aw.
Yeah, so we got to talking, and then he realized, okay, I'm not alone. This is kind of, I think it still kind of creeps him out, but I don't think it's as bad now.
Yeah, it's good, that he was able to recognize that and you were able to talk to him about it. Because I think a lot of people do have experiences and they're probably thinking, what just happened? Like,
Yes,
and are afraid to talk about it to other people,
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, that's a good thing that we can all get together and talk about it here. And, a lot of people nowadays are talking about it more on podcasts like we're doing,
Yep.
and not just podcasts, but, even with their families and friends now. It seems like more people are starting to open up a bit.
And is that why more people are having paranormal experiences a lot more now because we're talking about it? Or is it just people are talking about it because they feel more comfortable?
Right, right. Like we were saying, the veil, it's getting thin. I know I have my own weird theory about like, well, okay, when it talks about the earth has its own magnetic field and things that are protecting us
Mhm.
and from space and whatnot, our world is literally thinning as we know it because we're able to see the aurora borealis all over
Yep.
the place, not just, in one spot, which is kind of odd, right?
This year they could
So,
see them
is
as
that
far as
affecting us? Is outer space actually affecting us because of these
Yep.
radio or neutrons that are shall we say, coming in from, our biggest thing in the sky, which would be the sun, coming at us? So there's so many different things you can think about when it comes to dimensions and
Mhm.
why people are having all these quote unquote awakening experiences and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So think about it. Follow Kat Ward, host of Paranormal Heart Podcast, and listen to her show every Tuesday on UPRN at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right after my show. Listen to Kat's shows. Tune in, listen to another Canadian. And Kat, again, say something to your folks before we peace out.
Oh, just be kind to each other. There's lots of hatred in the world right now and uncertainty. So if we can just put out as much positive energy as we can, be patient with each other, and just be kind.
Love and light. And
Love
listen
and
in
light.
again to UPRN on 105.3 FM Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And thanks again for being on the show. And a big Happy New Year to
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Peace out.
Forever proud.
can do a little dance party.
Need a hat.
Or we can move into rock.
That's a good one too.
We're gonna play some New Year's music. We can't not have any New Year's music. Okay, everybody, take care. Happy New Year, 2025.